welcome to the first of what will hopefully be many Paykel and Morawetz reviews of the Evertech Fantasy Footy season. We're here at the lovely Malvern Vale Hotel. Payks have let us back in.
Thankfully, they must have lost those pictures because I was sure after the Adelaide Cup we were never getting back into this place. But here we are, and we've got the draft review all ready to go. And our tips for round one.
Well, we come to the season opener, so to speak. We've got Camel against Slavic's team. Payks, I know you've run the rule over Slavic's team. What did you find?
I think Slavic's got an excellent midfield that could just take him all the way, one step further than he got last year. The opening up with Beams, Selwood and Swallow signals that he's going to have a very strong midfield. I think the forward line could be alright with Mark McCart coming back in this week and for the rest of the year, hopefully for him. Ivan Maric in the ruck as well. He's just going to continue his run throughout the season that he had last year. I think Slavic's got a great team. I think it might be a 7 out of 10.
Good call. Well, I've had a look at Camel's. I was also pretty impressed with Camel's drafting. I think he's done very well. I really like the inclusion of Sammy Jacobs in there. I think Jacobs against Maric, the two breakout ruckman for last year, so to speak. I really like Andrew Gaff, Steele at 124, and I think Taylor Walker is the sort of player that holds the forward line together. Wasn't particularly happy with his second pick of Scott Selwood. I think Scott Selwood went a little bit early at number 28. When you consider players like Stanton, Swallow, they were sort of still in the draft pool.
Breakout year for Selwood, obviously.
I'm not convinced by him. In fact, Swallow, I believe, is against him this week, so that could be very interesting if that happened. And one other thing that I'm a little bit hesitant about his team is the players coming back from injury. So he's got Bock there, he's got Nat Fife there, Andy Otten, very injury-prone team, but that means that the players are a bit cheaper, come a bit lower down the draft, and that can only be a good thing for him.
Any concerns about Gaz?
No concerns about Gaz. That's the thing about a team with Gary Ablett. You pretty much can't give it anything lower than a 6 because he just wins games on the back of his own bald head. So I'm going to give him a 6. And this week against Slavic, my tip is Slavic.
I think Slavic might just take the points this week.
I know you've had a close look at Greg's team, Payks.
Yeah, it looks all right on paper. Richmond, very Richmond-centric, which probably means that if they don't make the finals, he may struggle through the season. But the good thing for him is that it's obviously Deledio, it's Martin, and it's three of their big ball winners without Cochin, obviously. Outside of there, well, he's got obviously Dean Cox at the first pick of his with the dual position forward ruck, and if Sandilands comes in, that's a great pick, I think. Guaranteed scores for both players. Probably both spending time in the forward line and both dominating in the ruck. Outside of that, though, it does tail off a little bit. Bloke's a good pick. Loza could be anything, especially on the wide expanses of Subiaco Oval. But overall, I think he's got a decent side. We'll have to wait and see how the season plays out for him. Sandy, if he misses a big chunk, could cost him at the end of it.
Out of 10?
Out of 10, I think he's got a 5.
It's not a bad call. It's not the best team going around, I'll be honest. I've had a look at Lawrence's team. Look, I'm going to tell it how I see it. He started with picks Stevie J and Jack Grimes. Obviously, you want to solidify your bookends, your forwards and your backs, but I don't know, I think that's a little bit of an archaic philosophy for mine. The game is really won and lost, particularly at the top tier. It's won and lost to the midfield.
Stevie J is dual position.
He is dual position, but you'd imagine that you play him as a forward if you can.
If you pick him that early, you play him as a forward.
So I think he's just missing that real blowout midfielder, the one that just wins the game for you. He's got good mids, Kazisi Kelly, Jared McVeigh, Toby Green, they're good, but I don't see any of them scoring that 140 or 160.
A lot more work going into Toby Green this year, I think.
Yeah, that too as well. I do like Ben McAvoy at 67. I think he's a sole ruck and he's going to do very well. And also just feels that the drafter went into the draft with something in mind and he just took him, and I like that. Interestingly, Sam Jacobs, similar sort of player, was picked at 67 last year and he turned out alright for one particular coach. I don't remember who that was. Also like Daniel Wells, he's a steal at 161. But look, overall, for a team that's gone in with the philosophy of solidifying the bookends, it really doesn't have a very good forward line. So I can't really explain that. I've given it a 5. That said, it's not the best. It's not the best rating, but that said, I've tipped him for this week. I think he's better than Greg's team, and he'll get a win.
Yeah, I think he might get the win. But without those two Geelong players, it'll make things a lot closer than it's.
It's true. Stevie J and Kelly, they're both out this week, so that'll probably bring the scores down a bit. But I still think he's got it.
I've had a good look at Andrew's side this week, and I think he's got a decent team in for this season. Gibbs and Bartel at the start, Goldstein in the ruck, but also being well supported by Chris Payne in the forward line, and Daniel Jackson, a ball winner who is still shit in the midfield. He could take this team somewhere. Isaac Smith has a big role to play both on this year as a running midfielder and replacing Suckling. I think could be good value with his 14th pick overall. Overall, though, I think his team's a 7 out of 10. Plays a tough team this week in Wayne's team.
Yes, I've had a look at Wayne's team, and drafting fiasco notwithstanding, I think Wayne's actually got a very good forward line. I think Josh J. Kennedy was a steal at pick 145. I know you disagree with that, but I think he's a fantastic player and a fantastic dream teamer. I really like Bruce, Ballantyne and Walker around that. I think he's got a great forward line. Pendlebury and Chappie, great first two picks. The only real weakness in the side I can see is that he's picked Courtney Dempsey at pick 109. That's a little bit early for mine, but other than that, it's a great team. I've given it an 8. I
think it might make a little bit of dual positionness, but that's come from his own mistakes. But outside of that midfield is strong, and that forward line is recovered well from it.
Yeah, I'd say we can't hold it against him, but, well, we really can.
To make the same mistake twice.
That's inexcusable,
Inexcusable. What a fool Wayne is.
Wayne and Andrew Lifson. I've tipped Wayne this week.
I think Andrew Lifson, maybe just to be different, but it could be a close game.
The game that everyone's looking forward to, it's the one that draws the crowds. It is Lacus against Levy. You've had a look at Levy's team, Payks?
I have Mora, and he's got a decent side. Backed in with Swan and Birchall early. Pearson is stocked up on those defenders, but the one concern at the moment is the fact that he's got quite a few injuries, quite a few interrupted pre-seasons, and the big one, Kate's injury. He's gone for 12 weeks.
Yeah, I thought he could have gone a little bit later on that.
Maybe a little bit later, but despite all of that, he'll be there at the end of the season. Don't worry about that. I've given him an 8 out of 10.
No, fair call. I think Pierce Hanley went a little bit early with his third pick, but he's proven me wrong before, and he might just do it again. Look, I've had a look at Lacus myself. I think it's a pretty strong team. I think it's got a very deep midfield with Murphy, Bennell, Carazzo, Hayes and Dangerfield. I think Dangerfield, I disagree with it as a first pick. I know he had a double pick in the first round, so strictly speaking it was equal with Murphy, but he did technically pick it first, and he does tend to go missing in games when he's not shredding it. So while he can bust a game open, I think he's not consistent enough to be your first pick, not when players like Selwood, Kennedy, Thompson, Mitchell, those sorts of players were still in the draft pool. I think his defence isn't deep enough, and it's just pretty much got Scotland, and that's about it. And Dale Thomas is a big risk in the forward line, so it's not as strong as it was last year. I don't know if he'll be taking over football for the second year in a row. I've given him a 6.5 out of 10.
Can't afford that bowl to live in Mackay for 2 years.
No, absolutely not. Lacus versus Levy. Have you got a pick?
Levy.
Sorry, Eugene. I think it's Levy as well. It is myself against Andrew Langer. He's got a pretty good team, as I would know. I was drafting next to him, so I had a good look, engaged in the old espionage over his shoulder and saw a bit of what he was up to. And I've got to say, he's got a good team. I'll just speak a bit about his, and then we'll get Payks to run the rule over mine.
Could be match of the round this one.
I reckon it might just be. So I really rate Scott Thompson. I think he was a steal going in the second round, or the second half of the first round. I thought he was a top 8 player, definitely. Like Montagna and Hanbury in there as well. And Tommy Rockcliffe as a forward is just it's free money. It's a gift to Langer, so he's done very well. He's really stocked up on his attack. It's probably the best in the league, I would say. He's got Rockcliffe, Harvey, Pavlich, Petrie, Podsiadly and Cramery. I mean, that's just depth that you can't buy.
Harvey coming back in mid-season almost.
It's only 6 weeks.
Quarter of the season.
It has come a little bit at the expense of his backline. I don't think his backline is particularly strong. And his ruck stocks are... Look, I'll just say, they're inadequate. They are. He's got Matthew Lobe, Brent Renner, I can't even read my writing, Billy Longer, and someone who's probably not worth my time because I can't read him.
It's Jeremy Wainwright in 2009.
Cordy. What does that even say? Oh, Ace Cordy. Why have I put an L in Cordy? Anyway, Ace.
You could put any letter in there and it's not going to improve him.
He's not a very good player. No, the ruck stocks could be better, but I think his team is really good, and I've given him a 7.5 out of 10.
Alright, where do we start?
There
It's, we could rip in or we can just give him an easy ride through, but he's got a decent side. He's gone very young, very early. Lawston, Wines, Sam Mays. We'll be wanting these guys to be on the fringe of their sides.
Classic Morawetz picks, aren't they?
They are. But outside of that,
not to mention Plowman, Ben Kennedy,
Marco Paparone. But outside of these, and being serious, he's got a decent forward line with Franklin at his first pick, and his midfield stacks up with Kennedy, Stanton, and Jardine. Jack Stephen, he's been telling me he's all over it this year, and he could go deep, could go very deep. I've given him a 7, and I think he might get the points this week. And what a rivalry we have. Looking forward to my first win against him to shut him up about how shit my team allegedly is.
Well, just to put some credence to that philosophy, I've had a look at your team, Payks, and well, look, it's solid, but that's about as good as I can give you. I can't rate any team that picks Jack Watts in the top 100. I'm sorry, mate. Pick 83 is just way too early for the Jack Watts. It's a little bit. Look, this might be rich from someone who's got Franklin and Hawkins in his team, but it's a bit key position dependent. I think
might be.
Players like Brown, Cloak and Watts in there. I like Jordan Lewis in the forward line. I think that's a good pick. I've given you a 5 out of 10, but if some of your picks come off, that will look like a very, very stupid assessment. I've got to be honest with you. Players like Stephen Hill, Josh Caddy, Sean Atley, Dylan Shield, Jared Polak, if they have the years that they are due to have at some point, if they all stand up at the same time, you could have a very good team, Payks.
Happy with the 5? Or we can still make the finals with that?
I'm a very harsh man. I don't hand out my 6s and 7s like that.
That's fine. But worst case scenario, I have one hand on that dog roll already, and I'm looking forward to it.
You've had a look at Tull's team?
Then it looks alright. On paper, he's got a couple of stars in there in Boyd and Simpson. I think Simpson's a star. I think he was a steal with his 4th or 5th pick. But looking at that forward line, he's gone the recycle. He's gone to Vizzy on that recycling forward line, where you have Lynch, Thornton, Dawes, Ricky Pettit, and Aaron Edwards, all from other clubs. Hopefully a fresh start for them can bump up his team and give him a round about a 6 or 7, and maybe something deep into the season. Yes, the
fresh start philosophy has to work for Tull, otherwise it's in a spot of bother there.
He is. But although I think he might have a good season, and I'm going to give him a 7. I don't know why, but why not? Got to keep him happy.
I agree, Payks. I think he is going to have a good season. It seems like all that waiting for the picks was not for nothing. He actually does know what he's talking about, and I've got him to beat you this week, Payks. I'm sorry, mate.
That's all right. Not a problem. Big rivalry out of this one as well, from that debacle of round 1 from last year, where Ron illegally played a couple of players. Rules have been changed. You won't be allowed to do this one again. Mara, how have you sent your weeks to?
Well, I don't like it. I'll be just really blunt. I don't like it. I think he's got too many key defenders. Talking Dempster, Jake Carlisle, Tim Moore, Ben Reid. I know Lockie Keeper's taken late, but he's still a key defender, and they just don't score for you. I like Mitchell in there. I like Joe Watson and Luke Shuey, but beyond that, there's not much depth.
He's gone good with the mids once he put Callum Ward in that top bracket.
Callum Ward, I think he had Callum Ward last year as well, and it worked well for him. But everyone's going to have 3 or so really good mids. Beyond that, I don't like it. Sorry, Elliot, I've given you a 3.
That might be your invitation to the league in 2014.
Yes, that's pretty much it. I think I'm gone. I think I'm pretty much gone for next year. In terms of a tip, I didn't even look at Ron's team. I tipped Ron.
That's a bit harsh, but Ron's gone the thoughtful processes again with this relatively slower picking. But he's gone well on the mids with Goddard, Redden and Robinson at the start. And Kieran Jack as well. He's slipped so far down the order, I think he's ready for another breakout year. Brad Ebert can continue on what he's done through the season. But the thing is, he's got so many players that just frustrate shit. He's got Jared Brennan, he's the captain of the frustrations. He's got David Myers, Lindsay Thomas and Campbell Brown. These guys can play. We know that. We know that Lindsay Thomas can kick 7 goals against the Blues and not do anything for the rest of the season. But will he do it consistently this year? If only they played Carlton every week. But I still think Ron will win this week.